Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica. And we're also here with Celeste.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for being here. We're excited to have you on.
I'm excited.
I know Mandy's really excited to have you on.
I am. Yes, Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
So, for those people who might not know, what types of books do you write, and where would you recommend somebody start if they're new to you?
So I write contemporary romance, primarily all standalones, because as a reader myself, I really struggle to commit to like full long series. So love me my standalones. Write a lot of angst, a lot of slow burn, but with spice, because I don't really like the closed door thing. It makes me mad. Always have to have a little something to get that reward. I mean. But yeah, a lot of contemporary romance, anywhere from like sports to forbidden romance. I mean, you name it, I've definitely got the options. And I always tell people that Make You Miss Me is my absolute favorite book. The characters are older. It's a single dad. He's like the alpha male. I drool every time I think about him. Oh my God. So definitely Make You Miss Me.
That's good. Have you read that one yet, Mandy?
I don't think I have. When you're talking about it, I don't think I have. How have I not read that?
I don't know, but that...
It came out a little while ago. Yeah, like in 2021. It's one of my older books.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, alpha single dad is like top tier. I've just got to jump on that. Yeah, exactly.
Writing it down right now.
Yeah, write that down. Yes.
You can't see it, but my Celeste collection is like right here.
Yay.
Mine's lost somewhere, and I have to reorganize my bookshelves. They're a mess right now. I've gone to a couple different events over like multiple weekends, and so I have a stack above my head that has to be put away. So it could be in the stack.
I feel that. Ever since I moved in with my boyfriend, I don't have the shelf space, so mine's all piled above me in like the most unorganized stack you could imagine, and I don't like to show it because people are going to be like, is she okay?
I know. And my husband bought me new bookshelves for Christmas, and I'm already outgrowing them, and he's going to start to get mad. So I've got to like figure this out.
That's an amazing problem to have, though, if you ask me.
It really is. It is. It definitely is. And Mandy's got new bookshelves, but nobody's built them yet. It's a running joke that she doesn't have a wide shoe situation, so they're not getting built faster.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still sitting in boxes in the living room.
Yes.
I probably should have just paid the IKEA fee to have somebody come build them for me.
You should have. Yeah.
So how did you become a romance writer?
I have always loved the romance genre. My mom and grandma are big bookworms. They're actually who got me into reading ever since I was little. Like I was a big like Junie B. Jones fan, Magic Tree House, The Little House on the Prairie books. Anything I could read, I would. But as I got older, I gravitated more towards romance. I would say young adult was actually something that I was obsessed with for a very long time. And I always thought I would write young adult, which is hilarious, considering my books definitely are not that at all. But I've just always loved to fictionalize, I guess, the dating world, because when I started getting old enough to enter into it, I'm like, this is kind of horrible, to be honest. This is scary. It's nothing like I've read before. I was so disappointed. And I always thought it'd be cool to like write kind of the raw, real aspect of romance and make it more realistic, so people like myself wouldn't be disappointed when they realized men in real life are not like our book boyfriends at all.
No, because they're written by women, and that kind of sucks. But as a parent who my daughters like to read, but they're still kind of doing like the Twilight thing. The youngest one is at this point, she's just kind of coming out of that. And I worry about that, when it comes to dating, it's not like that, which they're already dating, but still it's a thing. So I feel that.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I was pretty young when I started reading books that I feel like nowadays people might be like, oh, you were reading that when you were like 11 or 12. My best friend and I were just talking about this. The first time I ever picked up Forever by Judy Blume was the first time sex had ever been introduced into a book that I've read, and I felt so scandalous. I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about sex. This is what?
Yeah.
It was, but I loved it so much because it had like this very open dialogue about the topic. And I think I probably took it out of the library 5 times before the librarian was like, how old are you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting because I think about the first book that I read that had that in it. And honestly, it's not even a romance. It was The Color Purple. And it had those scenes in it. And I remember feeling it felt taboo because of what was happening in those scenes, which explains a lot of my reading now. A lot of it. Because I'm the one that reads a ton of dark romance. So that explains a lot, actually. Yeah. Yep. That, and then I loved the book Alive about the guys in the Andes Mountains, but that has no scenes of anything in it. But that really does explain a lot of my reading preferences as an adult. So
yeah.
So can you share what you are currently working on or any really soon upcoming releases?
Yeah, so I'm actually almost finished with the last Linda New book, which is called Need You to Choose Me. It was supposed to come out, I think, back in 2022, but I shelved it because there was just so much going on in my life at the point, and I didn't really love the characters. I was feeling like it didn't match up to the other books that had been out already in the series. Mm-hmm. And all the first 4 books in that series are all football, and this one's hockey. It's like the first hockey book I'm writing, and which is funny because before, when I was writing this series, hockey wasn't as big as it is right now. I feel like anyone who says they read sports romance, it's not usually football. It's almost always hockey. Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be a good thing or not that this book comes out when everyone's super into it. But I'm really excited about it. It has a plus size heroine who's like very confident in being plus size, which I love because I feel like a lot of times when I read books where the heroines aren't like the cute little skinny petite girl, it's always like a self-conscious thing. And I used to be bigger and I was self-conscious, but I still kind of loved myself. So I'm putting a spin on that almost. Which I really love, and it's a brother's nemesis, which brings a lot of angst and a lot of forbidden spice there for sure. So I'm really, really excited for that to come out this summer.
I love that. I sometimes will avoid books that say that they have like a curvy heroine or plus size heroine because I don't want to read about, like, I could lose some weight. I don't need to read about somebody who's like self-loathing and, always like down on themselves about it. Like, I don't want to read that. So sometimes I avoid it because I feel like that doesn't need to be the focus of the book. And sometimes that ends up happening. So I love that you're doing a different take on that.
Yeah. It's also based on like one of my best friends in college. So the main character in this, her name is Olive, but my best friend's name is Olivia. And so much of her personality is like in this book, which I love because she's such a fun person. She loves to do her makeup. She also is obsessed with sports. Like, she's just this very like well-rounded person that has so much going on with her. This would make the perfect person in a book because she's just so fun. She's very confident in herself. She loves herself. She knows she's this bomb ass person. I was like, we need more of that in romance, especially for curvier characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
because like you said, a lot of it is they're down on themselves for it and they want to change themselves or they don't like who they are. And I think that is part of the reason why I don't like to read it. I also don't like it to be like, when you read a girl, this petite girl, we might hear that she's petite and small, but it's not a constant in your face. And when the person doesn't like their body in the book, we hear it's a constant in your face. So I like to know that they're plus size, and then let's move on from that. So yeah I like that. So and you just had a release, so you've got 2 this year, like one's already out and then you have this other one coming.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy, and I kind of regret that a little bit. Yeah, so What's Left of Us was an indie title, which is a spicy, kind of on the dark side of romance. I call it dark romance, like B's version, because it's not. I've read some dark romance, and it's definitely not, I feel like, what is the traditional dark romance where there's a lot happening in it. But Marriage of Convenience, star-crossed lovers, lots of spice, which for me is something I don't usually write a lot of. But it was so fun to write. And unfortunately, I didn't think at the time that I had another title coming out through Bloom Books called Past the Broken Bridges, which came out like a month after this. So it's been a lot of like promo and marketing, and two very, very different books that my mind cannot seem to focus on, because I have like this dark romance and then this like really sad but also kind of like beautifully tragic book and heartwarming book. So trying to flip switches and market for each of those has been difficult.
Now,
so oh, sorry, go ahead, Mindy.
Past the Broken Bridges is coming out in like just a couple days, right?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yep, March 11th.
Okay. For a second, I was like, wait, did it already come out? And I didn't grab it yet because I had it written down to grab it like this week. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I know some people have already found it in bookstores, because sometimes bookstores will early release it a little bit. So I've been tagged in a few people who are like, just got my hands on this. And I'm like, I don't even have it. Like, I'm so sad.
Oh.
So tell us
Would that
about
be
that
at
one
Barnes
a little
and
bit.
Noble?
Sorry, but what?
Is that at Barnes and Noble that they're finding it?
I think one person found it at Books A Million and one person found it at Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have to do a little shopping this weekend.
Yeah. Are you going to Barnes and Noble after church tomorrow?
I might.
Yeah, okay. Before you get your groceries. So tell us about this one a little bit too.
So
This
Past
is
the Broken,
angstier?
yeah, so it's angsty. It's I always say my books are slow burn with spice, and this is definitely fitting of that book. It's childhood friends to lovers. They reunite 13 years after Hurricane Katrina separates them. And unlike most of my other books, this actually takes place in Louisiana, which was a really fun change of pace to write, because I visited last year, I think, New Orleans. I saw. I didn't know it was Mardi Gras at the time, so that was definitely an interesting experience for my Louisiana vacation. Yeah. But it was really fun, and I loved the culture and the people and the food, and it inspired me. It's like, I need to set this book in Louisiana, because I was on deadline at the time. The publisher always wants a book at least 8 months in advance before the deadline, or like the release date. So I think I had already started the book and realized I couldn't write it in New York this time. As soon as I got back, I'm like, it's going to be like Baton Rouge, LSU campus. There's going to be a lot happening in the story. And it was really fun to incorporate some of the history that Louisiana has faced, because that's one thing I love to do in my books, is how can I kind of tug on people's heartstrings? And a lot of people Katrina and some of the stuff that happened in Louisiana. That was just like one of those perfect settings that I've never written a book faster, I think, than I've written Past the Broken Bridges.
That's awesome.
Mandy.
Oh,
I was going to say, you've been posting a lot about it, and you're saying like this one is going to is the most heart-wrenching book you've written.
Yeah.
You've written some pretty like heart-wrenching books. So like, this is a box of Kleenex book.
Absolutely. I always tell people, if they liked Underneath the Sycamore Tree, they're going to love this. And people have been asking if it's going to hurt more than Sycamore Tree did. And it's hard for me to say yes or no, because it really just depends on how you can relate to the book. Underneath the Sycamore Tree dealt with chronic illness, which is something that I wrote about as someone who deals with invisible disease. But then you have Past the Broken Bridges that deals with cancer. And that was inspired by my father's own battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is what the character has. So it's two very different, I guess, levels of heart-wrenching. And I've been trying to get it out too, that like, this book isn't a traditional like capital R romance. It's not going to have the kind of ending that a lot of people in the romance genre are going to expect. But there is a big twist that I think people are going to be very surprised about, because they're probably not going to see what happens coming. So I know that's been getting people too when they've been reading arcs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this up. I need to head to the bookstore.
Oh, Mandy's all about getting her heart ripped out. And we love like non-traditional HEAs, because it's just something different. Like I want things to be okay, but I don't mind that non-traditional HEA. So
yeah. I think it just goes back to having that kind of realistic aspect to books, because not everything is going to be a fairy tale ending. Not everything is going to be okay. And sometimes if it is okay, it's not like your traditional, I feel like a lot of epilogues that I read are like they get married or they have kids, or it's like that like kind of
Mhm.
perfectly wrapped in a little nice neat bow.
Mhm.
I don't really always like that because that's just not, again,
Yes.
it's not real life. So I love to switch it up a little bit sometimes. And that's definitely
Okay.
Yes. I think
Okay.
that's one of the reasons that your books, like, I really like them is because they don't always end in that very predictable manner.
Mhm.
yeah.
And sometimes it's a little more open-ended, which I think is totally fine. Like, I don't need to always read like the honeymoon and then the babies that come after. Like, sometimes it's nice, like, I don't mind it, but it doesn't always have to be there either.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally
Mhm.
agree.
Yep.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? Like, how do you come up with your ideas? Do you outline everything out, or do you just sit down and start typing? Like,
So people are always kind of mind blown by this. I've never really plotted a book in my life. Sometimes I'll have I'm a big trope reader. So sometimes I like to write based on whatever trope I want the book to be.
Mhm.
Whether it's like a brother's best friend or, an age gap or something. So I sort of start off with a trope and then try to think of the characters, but I'll just sit down and write, and whatever comes out, comes out. I might kind of jot down little ideas in my notebook if I think I want to incorporate something specific. But yeah, I'm a pantser through and through.
Mhm.
My process is that I don't have a process. I wing it, which is sometimes good and sometimes not. So
I think that's me and you, Mandy. If we were to have, like, if you and I were to both to write a book, you would have it all plotted out, and I would be like winging, just flying by the seat of my pants. This is what we're gonna do. I do agree with the trope thing. I am a huge. I mean, Mandy and I are both mood readers, so the tropes are what gets us. So I
mhm.
completely understand that. I would probably have tropes, but I'd probably be more like that. Like, let's just see how this turns out. Just
yeah.
start going. Yeah.
Sometimes I get asked if I'll ever co-write with someone. I just got asked that on a panel at Wild and Windy West, and I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't put anyone through that. If I tried to write with like a friend, we would
Mhm.
not be friends by the end of this
At the
process
end.
because I don't even sit down and consistently write every single day at the same time. If something comes to me, that's when I'll sit down and I'll write it, but I can't force it. And I have friends who are like from 10 to 5, they're writing every single day, Monday through Friday. I can't do that. I was like, I would not subject somebody to have to write with me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I understand that. Plus, for me, when I'm in the shower in the car, that's when all my best ideas and things come to me. So that would just be really difficult.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember once I get out. So
Isn't
yeah,
that the worst feeling? I
it
hate when
is.
that happens.
That's when I make my shopping list and then I get out and I get dressed and get ready to go to the store and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot everything I need. So
Yes, never
yeah,
fails.
every time. Yep.
That's why you need a spreadsheet. No.
Well, how am I going to have wait, I'm not going to have a spreadsheet. How am I going to use your spreadsheet when I'm in the shower?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's normally when I'm yelling at my phone to make lists when I'm in the shower. So,
Okay, I've
yeah,
never done that before, but
I have a
I,
couple of
I
times.
suppose that could work.
Yeah, set reminders. Yep, or make a list.
I just have to tell you that I cracked up about the part at the beginning of your latest book about the cop.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah, and
I
then we
know.
saw you at Wild and Windy, and Mandy's like, "So is that the cop?"
Yes.
That was awesome.
I know Jessica shared the story with you about how I made her read the prologue on the plane, but I'm
Yes,
like, that is just before the prologue. That was, I can't remember if you called it like author's note or how you labeled it in there, but oh, that was so funny.
I loved it. It was great.
What's funny is that I changed the dedication, and I only changed the dedication because I've been with the cop for about 2 years now, almost 2 years now, and now a lot of his friends, his family, his coworkers are reading my books. So originally the dedication was like to the cop, like I think it was something like I guess good dick like inspires the muse. And then I realized like the dispatchers at his station have been like sending me notes and like messages saying how much they love my stuff. I'm like, I can't do that because now, and like his mom just started to read my stuff. I'm like, I
Oh
can't.
no.
So then
That's awesome.
So then I was like, I'm just going to change the dedication to something more like cutesy. But then I'm going to add in the author's note that, just casually that, it's kind of inspired by getting like dicked down by the cop. And I didn't think people were really going to like take that much note of it because it was like an author's note and trigger warning since it does deal with like a lot of stuff. And then I posted that on my Facebook page and it went viral. And then his sister saw it and then his entire family saw it. And then his coworkers were screenshotting it. And I was like, okay,
That's awesome.
Sorry, babe. Like, but congrats, because it's good. Yay.
Gold stars for you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was hilarious because I'm just like reading it like, oh, yes, of course. Like you want to make sure that people know like these experiences may not actually be like real and that you're basing this off of this. And then all of a sudden you just throw that in there. And I'm like, oh, that is hilarious.
And that's the thing, like Mandy pointed that out to me. I would have completely bypassed that because anything that shows any triggers, I'm like, nope, because it gives away too much of the books most of the time. It tells me the things that are going to happen that I don't want to know are coming. So I skip them completely. But so I would have been the one person that would have skipped that. But Mandy's like, oh no, you have to read this first before you go on. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, yeah, go get it. All right.
I'll never forget. His sister texted me and it was just ew with a bunch of W's and I was like, what? And then she sent me the screenshot that she saw and I was like, oh, sorry.
Well, see, that's the thing. I say these things to my sister-in-law about her brother to her face and she'll be like, oh, stop. And I'm like, well, just so you know, I really like him. So tortured her all this last week while we were at her house too. It was great. So
I love it.
Oh gosh.
I have no filter though.
Okay. Our next question, and this is just kind of funny based on what we were just discussing, but what do you like to do in your free time?
Well, so you see, no. See, that's the downside though about the cop working all the time is that oftentimes he's not home. So that's when he really
Does he work days or nights?
Oh, both. His schedule changes all the time, and it's 12-hour shifts no matter what. So sometimes he'll be overnight. Sometimes he'll have to be at the station by 5 a.m. It just really depends.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I grew up in a house. Well, my grandfather was the chief of police, and so there were cops coming. It was like revolving door of cops all the time. And his would change. Most of the time it was days, but when I was a little girl, I remember him working nights, and then we would stay with grandma. We'd change off. He was staying at grandma's house. I remember her saying, "Oh, you'd make a great cop's wife." And I remember thinking, "Yeah, but he's not home at night. Like I want him home at night." So I mean, I was little, and I knew it at that point in time. So I do feel I know what you're talking about.
I always swore, and my friends laugh at me now because I swore I was never going to date two kinds of men. I was never going to date military men, and I was never going to date cops. And he is a former Marine turned state trooper. So quite literally the exact person I said I would never be with. And it's hard because he isn't home that often, but it's kind of nice for me because I can do a lot more writing when I'm not distracted. So that's the only kind of, I feel like benefit of his schedule.
Yeah. Well, that and him walking around in his uniform with the belt.
That's always nice too, especially when he puts like his readers on at night. And I was like, ooh.
Well, okay. The things that you never thought would get you going, they get you going.
Yeah, it's weird. And uniform and glasses. Jesus, get the handcuffs out now,
They're at the ready. They're there somewhere. So
he's got handcuffs all over this place. That sounded really bad now that I say that out loud, but it's just one of the things.
It's only for your benefit. It's all good.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I would say free time though, I don't really have a lot of it, and because I'm such a workaholic, I'm always doing something with my books, whether it's like writing, it's marketing, it's trying to film content, it's figuring out promo or answering emails or answering messages. So that takes up a lot of my time. I don't even really read that much these days. I think my reading goal this year is like 30 books, which is pretty sad because it used to be like 250 and now I just don't have the energy for that or the time really. Yeah, I get out of the house once in a while and try not to be a hermit. So, you know, but
I hear the hermiting. We hermit a lot.
yeah, I've always just been such an introvert that I just like, I'm a homebody. I love being home. And sometimes my friend will be like, there's an outside world where you can explore. And I'm like, well, that sounds great. But I'm still living in like 2020 where it's like, let's social distance. So I don't think my mind has left 2020 yet.
Well, and I think we get our peopling in when we go to these events and stuff. And you do several events every year. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of peopling.
It is. And I always tell all of my friends are introverted, or well, most of them are extroverted, but I have a few that are introverts, so they can understand. But most of them are like, it's so great because you can meet all these people. Like I can, and I can definitely kind of flip that switch in the moment and become extroverted, talk to people and go on panels. But it is so draining. Like by the end of the signing day, I just want to go into my room, order room service, like take my pants off and just like lounge in bed and not do anything and not talk to anyone. It's a lot. It's fun, but it's a lot.
We feel that feeling. But I'm more of an extrovert. And even for me, I mean, I like to be home. I'm a homebody, but I am an extrovert. But it is draining. It is exhausting. At the end of the night, I'm like, Mandy, where's my after fives? I need to put those on and just lay here for a few minutes. And then we're going to go eat because that's how that is. Yeah.
Always.
Always. Yep.
So speaking of signings, will we see you at any future signings? And I know of one that you're going to be at that we'll be at, but what signings do you have planned?
Yeah, so my next one is a smaller one here for a launch party. Albany, New York. I'll be at the Book House of Stuyvesant Plaza to celebrate past book we're just releasing. And then I'm doing a Beyond the Read author event in Columbus, Ohio this summer. That's, I think, June 19th through the 22nd, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah. I know it's in June. I'm the worst with dates. Like sometimes it'll be like a week out.
Mandy has a spreadsheet, thank God. And that spreadsheet that my little type A personality over there has keeps me in check. Because I'll look at her and be like, when are we going to this event? I know it's in, June, but when?
I need a Mandy because I don't have one. Sometimes it'll be like a month before the event, and then that's when like the event organizers will really start pushing like seating charts and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like I have to be in Ohio soon.
Yeah.
Like whoops. But yeah, I'm doing that one. I'm doing Violet Crown in Austin, Texas, which is a Southern Belle event. I'm looking forward to that. I love Southern Belle events. They're so fun.
Yeah.
And then my last one is Love in Vegas. So I'm doing the Wild and Windy in Las Vegas, which will be the first time I've been in Nevada. So I get to cross that off of my list.
Fun. Your first Vegas experience?
Yeah, which for an introvert sounds kind of like hell, but I'm going to try to make
a little bit. We love the Love in Vegas events. And for us, Vegas is not that far away. It's not a very long flight. And, so that's just kind of a, what do you want to do this weekend? Let's go to Vegas kind of a thing. But Love in Vegas is always very well put together. We always enjoy it. And plus there's things to do. When it's time to go eat, let's walk out onto the strip and find something on the strip because you're right there.
Yeah.
So you can stay in your hotel room, but there are things to do. And even as the introvert, I think you'll like it because you're in the heart of everything where we're at. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm excited. I've heard really good things about the signing. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. A good experience.
Yeah. So
we've been several times and we've always enjoyed it.
Yeah. This year will be our third year in a row that we've gone. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see you there. We'll also see you at Bray.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay. Mandy, how come we didn't know about this other Southern Bells event?
It's we did. It's like the first. It's like early in September, I think. Right?
Oh,
I think it's. I want to say the 3rd, but again, don't ask me for dates because I'm not.
Yeah. And Mandy's a teacher. She'll have just gone back to school, so that's what makes it hard.
Yeah.
So
usually they try lining Southern Belle events usually up to like spring breaks or vacations. I've noticed, but I don't think it worked for this one for the venue that they were trying to get.
Yeah, because they're doing
like Labor Day weekend.
Maybe,
I don't know,
because they're doing Rain City again this year, just a smaller Rain City. And that's over
Yes.
Memorial Day weekend. So that does make sense. They do them planning it around there. But I love their events.
I love
Mhm.
them. I was supposed to do the first Nashville. I don't know if it's the first one they did, but it was like Music City, back in, was it 2022? I think. And my anxiety got the better of me because it was going to be my first signing, and I ended up backing out because I just couldn't.
wow.
And I felt so bad because I've heard nothing but good things. So when I went to Holiday with the Bells in, I think, Dallas, or really, yeah,
Mhm.
it was Dallas, Texas, back in 2023. So fun, like the best experience. They were so lovely. Everyone was so welcoming. The readers were great. Like, this is what I'm missing out on. Like, this is actually kind of great. Like,
Yeah. Plus their
Mhm.
events are like, they're open. I loved in Seattle. Seattle was our first one. We did Rain City this last year with Southern Bells. And it was like, I can breathe in here. And it's not stuffy and overheated. And there's room to
Mhm.
move around. I don't have to worry about running over anybody but Mandy with my book cart. So
Yeah.
it was great. That didn't happen in Seattle. That happened in Phoenix. So it's okay. I ran over her a lot in Phoenix.
Yeah.
there was a lot happening. I remember on the first day for Phoenix, especially, I feel like when people were trying to get wristbands or like the ticketed author
Mhm.
stuff, it was like a swamp, especially in my section, because we had
In your
like Sarah
section.
Jane, we had a bunch of like the
Your-
bigger authors on my
yes.
side, and people were just, it was crazy. It was like bumper
It was a
cars.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, yeah, you were definitely in that corner because you had Nikki Sloan across from you. You had quite a few around
Yeah.
you that were bigger, ticketed ones that had big lines. So
Yeah.
but
So it got very warm after a while because there were so
Yeah.
many people there.
yeah,
It was a good event though.
it was a good event.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yep. So
All right. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to share that maybe we didn't ask that you wanted to talk about, or?
Not that I can think of, honestly. Yeah.
So these 3 books that you have that are out this year, is that it? Or do you have others that are anticipated to come out later in the year?
I would like to try publishing one more in like the fall, because I like to do seasonal releases, so I have time to like. Unfortunately, these first 3 are kind of like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't written it, so I can say that I've got a book coming out this October, and it doesn't
Right.
exist.
Okay.
So.
Good to know. All right. Is that typical for you, having 4 releases a year?
I like to have at least 4 releases, at least 3 releases realistically. But because Past Broken Bridges is with a publisher, I like to have 3 kind of indie ones because it's very different process. And but yeah, I've just learned over the last couple of years, I think I've released like 1 book a year, which is not good for me. So this is the first year I'm kind of getting back into that pattern where I can finally have some more fun and write books and release these different like fun stories, or in this case, some of them tragic stories. So.
We like those too. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what is the best way for readers to connect with you?
I mean, to be honest, I basically live on my phone. So if they follow me on Instagram, that's a big way a lot of people talk with me. I would say probably Instagram or TikTok, honestly. But email, bcdwrites@gmail.com. I have people who will sometimes email me and we'll have fun little exchanges. But I think Instagram's probably the one I gravitate to the most in terms of engaging with people.
Yeah. I think most authors are that way nowadays. So yeah, it used
And
to
you
be
also-
Facebook, now it's Instagram.
You also have a Facebook reader group too.
I do. And what's sad is I always forget that. So I do have that, the Celestial. Yeah.
The Celestials. Okay. All right. Okay, is that it for us, Mandy?
That is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Yes,
of
thank
course.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And for everybody else out there, we will see you in the next video.